Welcome to everyone to this activity of the Global Trade and Gender Arrangement titled Unlocking Opportunities for Women Entrepreneurs in Chile, Canada, and New Zealand. This event has simultaneous interpretation available, English and Spanish. With this, we are ready to start our today's activity with the opening remarks of the authorities of Chile, Canada, and New Zealand. Let me first give the floor to Ms. Angélica Romero, Director General for Multilateral Economic Affairs at the Undersecretariat of International Economic Affairs of Chile, that will be delivering her opening remarks. Ms. Romero, you have the floor.
Thank you, Marcela. Good evening, Ms. Linda Tepuni, New Zealand's ambassador here in Chile. Also, good evening, Mr. Michael Gord, Canada's ambassador to Chile also. I want to say hello also to the people that is connected from Canada, from New Zealand, and from Chile, as well as other observer countries. It is a pleasure for me to be opening this event with you. The activity that we are holding today falls under the umbrella of the Global Trade and Gender Agreement, the ITAG, that was signed in August 2020 by Canada, by Chile, and by New Zealand. The ITAG, among other important commitments, establishes a work plan which main purpose is implementing cooperative activities to advance women's participation in international trade. The event today is an example of several efforts that our countries are leading to promote a more inclusive trade. In fact, our ministers were in an OECD activities a couple of days ago, sharing with the OECD members the commitments and the opportunities this agreement has for women and inviting them to be part of ITAG. We are convinced that advancing women's entrepreneurship and market participation is crucial to foster women's economic empowerment. For that reason, we have been incorporating gender chapters in our free trade agreements to bring the attention to women and looking for enabling ecosystem that provides opportunity for women entrepreneurs to effectively set up or expand their businesses. Despite the fundamental role that women play in achieving inclusive and sustainable economic development, they continue to face systematic barriers to prevent them from realizing their full potential. Our job as public sector is to hear from women, their difficulties, and looking for options to help them achieve their objective in international trade. Even though the reality of women entrepreneurs from each country may differ, the objective of the event is exchanging experiences and exploring cross opportunities within Canada, New Zealand, and Chile. COVID-19 erased 10 years of progress by incorporating women into workforce, and we need to work harder to change it. It is important to look for all possible tools to advance in women's full participation in the economy, as well as to advance toward a gender-sensitive recovery post-pandemic. And we will have today terrific example of companies led by women. We will learn from them and we will be inspired. Many thanks to Sarah, Laura, and Carolina for being with us. We will also have a section to hear the programs that Canada, New Zealand, and Chile developed to support women in international trade. Our team worked with enthusiasm for these activities, and we hope it will contribute to identify gaps, but also opportunities, and to strengthen relationship between the business women from Canada, Chile, and New Zealand. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you very much, Director General. Now I would like to invite Mr. Michael Gord, Canada's ambassador to Chile, to deliver his opening remarks. Mr. Ambassador.
Gracias, Marcela, and thank you also, Angélica, for those words. Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir tout le monde. Buenas tardes. a todas y a todos. I'm really pleased to be here as part of this second activity organized in the context of the Global Trade and Gender Arrangement. Today is noteworthy. This is the first stakeholder activity we are holding as a group. So welcome to all, and thank you for joining us. I also want to thank Chile for hosting. Activities like this one will be crucial as we tackle the challenges of post-COVID-19 economic recovery. Women's economic empowerment and gender equality are key priorities for the Government of Canada. We therefore apply a feminist approach across our international policies and programming, including in diplomacy, security, development, and consular services. But it also features in our inclusive approach to trade by seeking to provide more opportunities for women workers and exporters and to build back better from COVID-19. The Inclusive Trade Action Group and the Global Trade and Gender Arrangement are crucial components of our inclusive approach to trade. Canada, New Zealand, and Chile made great efforts to conclude and sign ITAG in August 2020. And we believe that it is a fantastic tool to implement our priorities and to encourage women entrepreneurs, such as you, to take advantage of the benefits of international trade. But it also builds on Canada's history of providing support to women entrepreneurs. Almost 25 years ago, Global Affairs Canada led our first woman-focused trade mission, laying the foundation for what would become the Business Women in International Trade program. This program works with a plethora of organizations across Canada to assist hundreds of women entrepreneurs. Canada's Trade Commissioner Service was allocated $10 million to expand its existing services for women entrepreneurs and provide enhanced services for women-owned businesses, whether they are already exporting or are preparing to do so. The Trade Commissioner Service is committed to helping diversify who trades, especially SMEs from underrepresented groups, including women, Indigenous, visible minorities, LGBTQ2I, and youth. It is also working to tailor its services and programs and to address some of the key challenges underrepresented groups face, such as financial insecurity, lack of networks and mentors, and knowledge gaps. If you are not already using our services, I encourage you to do so. Later today, Mark Richardson, our Senior Trade Commissioner at the Canadian Embassy in Santiago, Chile, will be providing a short overview of the various ways that we can help you. On that note, Canadian women-owned SMEs have been improving their export activity over time. In 2017, women-owned SMEs accounted for 15% of all SMEs in Canada, compared to 7% in 2011. This shows good progress, but more must be done. We hope today's activity will inspire some of the business women in the audience to make the leap into international markets and take advantage of the opportunities that they offer. Thank you, merci, muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Now, I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Linda Tepuni, New Zealand's ambassador to Chile. Ambassador Tepuni, you have the floor.
Gracias, thank you, Marcela. Ena mana, ena reo, ena hoe wha, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Greetings to everyone. Thanks very much for the opportunity to join you today. It's a pleasure to give some opening remarks on behalf of New Zealand for this implementation event for the Global Trade and Gender Arrangement. And echoing Ambassador Gort, I'd like to add my thanks also to Chile for hosting. The Global Trade and Gender Arrangement is New Zealand's first such arrangement on trade and gender, and is a significant manifestation of the progressive work being undertaken by Canada, Chile and New Zealand through the Inclusive Trade Action Group. The New Zealand government has a trade for all agenda as a fundamental plank of its trade policy engagement in recent years. This means working to ensure that our trade not only delivers for all members of society in Aotearoa, New Zealand, but the trade is accessible to all. We know that women face particular challenges. They are less likely to be employed in the tradable sector than men, and so lose the opportunity for higher wages and to be involved in more innovative enterprises. Our Trade for All bottom line is also to ensure the participation of and benefit for those who live in rural regions, our small and medium enterprises, and Māori, the Indigenous people of Aotearoa, New Zealand. The barriers women face to participating in trade are complex, and there is no single solution. Addressing those constraints requires cohesion across government, as well as collaboration between like-minded countries and with the private sector. We look forward to hearing more about the activities of trailblazing women business leaders and entrepreneurs today. This is the sort of activity that the Global Trade and Gender Arrangement looks to facilitate and promote. It is also relevant in the context of this event to mention the focus in APEC on delivering outcomes for women. New Zealand is proud to be hosting APEC 2021. APEC will continue to track the implementation of the La Serena Roadmap for Women and Inclusive Growth that was launched in 2019, thanks to the vision and commitment of Chile in its APEC host year. The roadmap seeks to place women and girls at the centre of economic recovery efforts. The New Zealand government is also developing a Women's Employment Action Plan as part of our broader COVID-19 economic response. This aims to improve women's resilience in the face of future social and economic shocks, which in turn will improve the resilience of families and communities. As you can see, there are many positive work streams at the national, regional and global levels on a Trade for All agenda. The Global Trade and Gender Arrangement helps to bring these various strands together. Aotearoa, New Zealand has a history of women with a vision for business and innovation, including Māori women in pre-European settlement times, and a reputation for being out in front on many things, such as the right for women to vote. It is part of our overall entrepreneurial spirit and inspired by the reality of being a small, geographically distant economy that has to be adaptable and nimble to maintain a competitive edge. With that in mind, I'd like to warmly thank our female business leaders, our wahine, for being part of this conversation today. Kia ora, merci, gracias.
Thank you so much, Madam Ambassador. Marcela is having a little technical issue, so I'm just stepping in. And after these encouraging remarks, I will pass the floor to Ed Isaac, Lead Advisor of the Trade Policy and Negotiation Division at New Zealand's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, that will moderate the CEO's panel. If you have any questions directed to the CEOs that will be presenting today, please post them through the questions and answers feature. Ed, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Camilla. Good morning from New Zealand. Kia ora koutou. Good evening to those of you in other parts of the world. Thanks once again to our esteemed introductory speakers for some really interesting and insightful remarks there. A great setting of the scene, I think, for this second Global Trade and Gender Arrangement implementation event. It's my great pleasure and privilege to be able to moderate this session. We have three very talented and successful women business leaders who have graciously agreed to be with us today and share their stories of their journeys in commerce and trade and business. And this is exactly the sort of information sharing exchange that the GTAG envisages between women entrepreneurs, government officials, as we take forward this journey around women's economic empowerment. First up, we have Laura Matolo, who is the President and CEO of Flow Partners in Canada, also the Director of the Great Lakes Graphite Incorporated, a company listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Laura is recognized globally as a leader in lean mining, and I'm really interested to hear a bit more about that. Mining automation, technology and innovation in the natural resources sector. She's a mining engineer with a master's in engineering in mining automation from McGill University, great university. She's also a business leader with more than 20 years of global experience in mining and was named one of the 100 most inspirational women in mining by Women in Mining UK. Next, we have Carolina Echenique, founder and president of Tiki Chips and Moule Maison de Chocolat from Chile. Carolina is a renowned businesswoman in Chile with a background in agricultural engineering from the Catholic University of Chile. She's played a revolutionary role in the Chilean gourmet food market by creating the Tiki Chips brand, which is a 100% Chilean gourmet product. She was recognized with the 2010 Young Entrepreneur Award from Women Entrepreneurs and is one of the 100 women leaders of El Mercurio newspaper. Carolina describes herself as a proud mother, innovative entrepreneur, and life juggler. And I think we'll hear a little bit more today about the need to juggle, very much so. She's passionate about nature and southern Chile's scenic landscapes. And last but not least, from my home patch, Sarah Adams, who's the Global Strategy and New Ventures Manager for Gallagher Animal Management of New Zealand. Sarah's worked in marketing, business development, and management roles within the agriculture industry for over 25 years. She's grown small startups, agricultural companies in genetics, merino wool and arable foods into substantial, globally recognized businesses. Her current role involves identifying and bringing new technologies to pastoral farming in the areas of animal monitoring and control, creating added value products and transitioning businesses from selling products to solutions has been key to success. We're not at work. Sarah's a hands-on farmer in the hill country on a sheep and beef property on the north side of the Raglan Harbour, which is another very beautiful part of the world. So a very warm welcome to our three women entrepreneurs. Very much looking forward to hearing more about your stories, your journeys in commerce and trade. We are going to pose some questions to our panelists. And also, as Camilla has said, we've got the chat function open. So please, participants, feel free to send your questions through on chat. And we should have time at the end of the session to pose those questions as well. First up, how would you describe the opportunities in the markets that you are exporting to? So we're going to get each of our panelists to talk about another GTAG a country and the opportunities that exist there. Are there any tips you can share with businesswomen who may be joining on this session that are planning to export to this market? And Laura, if I could invite you to please go first. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Well, first of all, it's an honor for me to be here and to be invited. Thank you for having me and very happy to support this event. So opportunities for me, well, as you've heard, I work in the mining and metals industry. So Chile, being a Canadian exporting to Chile, both very natural resource intensive countries. So lots of opportunity and strong ties between Canada and Chile in the mining and metals industry. Many Canadian companies in the sector have operations in Latin America and particularly in Chile. So there's a wonderful chance also to tie, those relationships. And for myself, being able to serve the industry in English and Spanish from both Canada and Santiago. Also, I guess exporting Canadian know-how and technology to Chile is very well received by local industry. As far as some tips, I really have two best tips for me. The first one would be to cultivate strong relationships with your embassy. In my case, the Canadian Embassy in Chile, the Trade Commissioner's Office, the Export Development Canada have been immensely helpful to me over the years since I started to establish a base of operation in Santiago. I truly cannot thank them enough for all the support through the highs and lows of establishing a base in another country, getting to learn the lay of the land. And the second tip I would have really is to surround yourself with trusted advisors, particularly in terms of legal advice, financial advice in country. Please, I can't overemphasize really how important it is to have trusted advisors. And again, there, the embassy can help you to go to the right people. So for me, I guess these would be the top two tips.
Thanks very much, Laura. Yeah, certainly endorse both of those, but in particular the first one, cultivating good relationships with the embassies. Of course, working for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, I would say that. Thanks very much. And now if I could give the floor to Carolina, just to remind the question, how would you describe the opportunities in the market you're exporting to, and are there any tips that you could share with businesswomen that are planning to export to this market?
Hello, thank you, Ed. Thank you for that kind introduction. Hello, everyone. Bonjour, bonsoir, sorry. Bonsoir, good evening, good morning. It's a real honor for us to be together today, expanding new horizons and trying to support new ideas between these amazing and beautiful three countries that I love, Canada and I love New Zealand. For me as an entrepreneur has been a really amazing opportunity to discover New Zealand as a partner in my business. We're not ready, we're not yet in Canada, but I hope to be soon there. So I would love to have all the really benefits of international trade that this community can offer. For us, it has been really, I don't know how to explain it. The opportunity that we had in the existing markets today has been difficult in some parts. Sometimes we didn't have the proper importer to work with, so the relationship that we can afford and we can try to develop with the embassies are really important. We have had terrible experiences in different markets, not New Zealand, of course. New Zealand has been a great market, thank God, but in other countries of the world, we had terrible experiences because we didn't have the proper person to understand the concept of the product, the commercial activities that we need to do together, etc. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to work together. We need to share the different markets that are compound in these different three countries, the tips that we can share for different experiences and different I don't know, ideas that we can develop together sometimes could be amazing. I think some tips that I could say would be this relationship with embassies is crucial. Sometimes you don't have eyes or I don't know any information about the people that is behind a company that is trying to buy your products. So it's like a big father that can hold you and put all together to try to wire a new connection and possibilities to expand and really do the best for both countries. Then I don't know, I love to create new things. So I think it's a great opportunity to get to know better people inside the countries through researchers or, I don't know, different commercial markets that you have studies and you can support different activities or different information that is terribly important to understand how is the best way to interact commercially with another country and another culture. That's it. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I would love to hear from to both embassies and try to expand our relationships. I think we have mutual roles as women to share together. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Carolina. Themes of connection, innovation, relationships coming through very strongly. Thanks very much for your upbeat remarks, and we'll come back to you very soon. Next, turning to Sarah. Sarah, over to you.
Thank you. And I just reiterate Laura and Carolina's comments about inviting us, and it's a real honour for me to be here. But the opportunities for Gallagher and for other businesses or New Zealand businesses in the agricultural sector in Canada are huge. They have such a vast amount of land and a very remote country, and the opportunities to do natural grass-fed or sustainable type production systems are just waiting there to be captured. So if we look at some of the mega trends that are coming at the moment for us to be able to capitalise on, there are concerns about labour, finding labour in farming. Digitalisation is getting huge, producing more from less, all the population growth around the world, and agriculture trying to find a way to produce more with less. Consumers also wanting to get that connection to natural, sustainable, responsibly sourced product or food, and environmental concerns. And where we in New Zealand have such a wonderful opportunity is being able to combine innovation that we are so good at, technology and insights, to be able to create groundbreaking solutions around these types of things. New Zealand is a wonderful incubator, and we have that innovation mindset of being able to solve problems. So we can usually incubate something here, but then the tips that I would have when we go to a new country, and especially Canada, is really understanding that market, getting out there and really understanding, doing that customer insight work. So learning and listening and immersing yourself in that, working out what are the jobs to be done by a technology, what are their pains and gains, and understanding that they are completely different to New Zealand, and then prototyping a product that we've developed around that. Understanding very much that just because we all speak English, and I know there are French Canadian also, but we speak English, we're not all the same. Using the right language, understanding their language. We talk about farmers, they talk about ranchers. Farmers and ranchers aren't the same, and we just have to be really careful when you go into these markets of really understanding to create that connection of how we talk to people, doing customer insight, really understanding the problems that they have to solve, and working with partners like NZTE, the embassies, to be able to open more doors, speaking to influencers, and really understanding how the whole system works to be able to get to the farmers that you have, because it is a remote country. And just that immersion into the market. So that is a real tip. Get into that market, immerse yourself, learn, listen before you actually develop a product for it.
Excellent. Thanks very much for that, Sarah. So the first round of questions, we've certainly heard a lot about the opportunities and the key issues that exporters need to be aware of, or companies becoming ready for export, thinking about exporting. We now move on to a question in relation to some of the barriers that might exist that each of our panelists might have encountered in their successful careers and overcome. So with that in mind, just ask about those barriers that you've faced, and also what lessons have you learned as you've been looking to set your companies up for export and venturing forth into new markets. What are the lessons that you've learned that you would be able to share for all the people that are tuning in to hear us today? And Laura, if I could invite you to go first on this one again, thanks.
All right. Well, I guess for me, when I thought about the biggest barrier in my experience has really been establishing credibility. not as a professional, but more as a female entrepreneur. So I'll try to illustrate that maybe. Like over the years, I've built my professional career on delivering quality services, both from inside large organizations and also as an independent advisor to them. And I really never felt my credibility as a professional was in question. But it's a very different thing when you're showing up to customers also in a new market that really doesn't know you. As the founder and president, CEO of a boutique consulting company, selling services at very high levels in the C-suite, there seems to be sometimes an invisible veil of skepticism descending, or sometimes it's almost palpable. So, and what I think back for me is that perhaps entrepreneurship and being in business for yourself sometimes feels like it's unbefitting for women, or said another way, women are not fit for business entrepreneurship, okay? And there's a level of mistrust which has to be bridged. I believe that for me anyways, that's been the barrier, not as a professional, but as an entrepreneur. So how to overcome that? I've basically focused on the capability and proven track record that I've established in different parts of the world. And so take it from there and build from there. So perhaps it's not, a barrier we'd like to talk about, but female entrepreneurship is still something that needs to be developed, encouraged, supported. So great to see this type of initiative helping to do so. As far as lessons learned, for me, I can't say, it has been very difficult to export. And so the lessons learned for me have been really about being surrounded with capable people, sort of knowing where to go to for help, and then building again every setback that you have as an entrepreneur. And of course, it's not always a win-win. There are setbacks, to be able to come back with from a stronger position. For me, those lessons have been hard learned, and certainly, you cut your teeth on that sort of thing, and you build from there. So that's really what I wanted to bring to the table.
Thanks very much, Laura. Valuable insights. And Ambassador Tapuni had said that women are less likely to be involved in the tradable sector than men. We know that barriers exist, and that it's really useful for us to hear from people at the coalface, women at the coalface, talking about those barriers for both business women, but also for government officials, to learn more about what we can do on this journey as well to smooth the path to enhance women's journey in business and overall economic empowerment. So thank you. On to Carolina. Carolina.
Thank you. Yes, for me, it has been several barriers. First of all, as a woman, I totally agree with Laura about that. It's not easy. Sometimes you don't have the chance to have the same abilities to connect with people because you're a woman. But I think it's an opportunity too. I think we are like jugglers. We are usually used to have like many balls in the air. So as women, we know that it's not easy, that we have to be, I don't know, mothers, entrepreneurs, spouses, or whatever, a few roles in between that we have to do together. And I think it's important to trust in the skills that you have as a woman, that you can try to express it to the people and try to avoid this barrier that naturally stop us from exporting. We have less chances, it's true. It would be great to smooth this path, as you said, Ed, but sometimes I think that my worst barrier has been the lack of network. Sometimes it's so difficult to get to know the right people, the trustable people, to get to know how the market works, how many people interact in the path of the commercial. How do you say it? To expand the commercial of one product from Chile, this thin and so long country that we have in the south end of the world. It's not easy to arrive in the proper, with the proper person, the proper market, the proper group of I don't know, gourmet. My products are food, so retail connections, how everything works, to share studies. Sometimes you have all kinds of studies in the embassies and you don't have access to that. So I think the lack of network and the lack of possibilities to share this information is my nightmare when I try to find the help to start with a new commercial relationship in the country. But I think we have, Laura, a great opportunity as women. As I said before, I think we learn quick, as we had limited opportunities and smaller opportunities. We know how to use it and we learn quick to try to expand it. So I think that develops a new connection and a new form to get to concrete new things. So I think it's both a barrier and an opportunity for us.
Thanks very much, Carolina. Really useful insights there for participants on this one. And to pass the floor over now to Sarah. Sarah, barriers that you face, lessons for people that are joining into this GTAGA event.
Thank you. For me, the barriers of being a female I haven't sort of found that they have been that great. And I think it came from being brought up by a father who was a farmer and being very involved with the farming. And I was never treated like I was different. You know, I could do anything on the farm. I was empowered to become competent in everything, and nobody ever said, you know, that was too difficult or it was a male job or anything like that. So I just probably became very competent. There were things that you can't do because physically it's more difficult for a woman, but I think that brought innovation into my life, and you find a way. And I had two brothers. You didn't want to not be able to do the things that they could do. So, and I had a father who very much made me speak up and taught me that I wasn't, you know, that wasn't an option to say that you were a girl, you couldn't do things, all of those things. When people asked about our farming operation, we bred stud sheep, and I had a little stud of my own. People would ask my father or my brothers about the animals, but he would always pass to me and the bits that I knew about. So when I went into business and went into agriculture, I probably was completely oblivious to some of the barriers that were there and sort of just forged through them from that oblivion. And I'm not sure that that was a good thing or bad, but I used to wonder at times what was wrong with what was wrong with some of these men, you know, why wouldn't they listen? And being competent, that was one of the ways I got around it, by ensuring that I was very competent, probably more competent than maybe a male in that situation, and always was happy to speak up and put my point across. So I think that was one of the things that very much was part of it, but the innovation and having that vision and looking at things in a completely different way to solving some of those problems that you're faced when you go into a market and when you're trying to build relationships and things like that. So I think I've never had a problem of asking for help, and also asking and learning from people, but also sharing my experiences to be able to show that I do understand, and have probably found that I've been accepted in that way. It's something that I've been very careful with, empowering people as a leader in our business, making sure that women feel very included, don't feel like they can't speak up, and really empowering them to move forward. Also, so building strong relationships. Some lessons that I've learned is all about building really strong relationships. So knowing your subject, making sure that you are really competent going into there, so, working out who's going to speak about different things, having that presentation, if there's a number of you there, having different parts of the presentation and making sure that we hand over to this person is the expert in this area. And if we have women in our team, you know, this is who you go to. And actually making sure within my team also, where we do have males that sometimes emails come back to, making sure they pass it out to, this is the expert in our team around this. So I think that's something to learn from. Something is, you are going to come up against hard conversations at times. If you fail, don't look at that as just go harder, really. Don't look at that as failure. Look at how you can learn from that. Go back and look at how that conversation went. Work out how you can go back into a similar conversation next time in a much stronger position. So any failure see as a learning opportunity, and make sure that it makes you stronger. So really that's the lessons that I have, but working out, you know, who are the influencers and who are the people that will take you forward, and actually just probably pushing aside those ones that you are coming up against barriers again. So actually getting some real advocates and then using them to make you stronger and make your business stronger and take you forward. You're not going to win all the battles, so work out the battles you can win and use those as real power to actually build that strong relationship.
Thanks, Sarah. Really rich set of advice there as well. Particularly like the point about the need for strength, and not just strength in yourself, but also the strength of your relationships and the strength of mentors and other people that can assist you on your journey. So to Laura, Carolina and Sarah, thank you for the discussion around barriers, which was also framed in a very positive way, which is great. Moving on to our next question, and it's, I think, impossible in this current environment to have a session dealing with trade, with business, with women's economic empowerment without talking about the COVID-19 pandemic, which we know has had a disproportionate impact on women, unfortunately, and this was mentioned earlier on as well. So the next question is, how has COVID-19 affected your business, and what would your advice be to women entrepreneurs that are exporting, ready to export or planning to export in the future? And Laura, if I could give you the floor. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you know, being very honest, the pandemic has greatly affected my consulting business, no doubt. I used to travel to Chile maybe 14 to 16 times a year. My inability to travel to Chile for the past more than a year now has hindered opportunities to close new business with clients. And I had to downsize my Chile operations during the worst of it. So definitely a big impact. You know, on the other hand, they say don't waste a good crisis. So the pandemic has also provided opportunities to reinvent how we serve customers in distributed remote environments. I'm used to doing a lot of work at the coal face, as you said, at the mining, inside the mines, and do a lot of work with frontline workers as well as with executive teams. And I was basing everything on my ability to interact in person with teams and with people. And this was taken away from me overnight. So definitely adapting the business model, adapting to the way that we deliver our services in this two-dimensional environment that we're in right now was a big challenge. Now, the one thing I would say for me, because I consciously developed strong relationships throughout my career and very strong global networks, one of the first things I did in the early stages of the pandemic was to get on the phone and start really mining that network. No pun intended, but really just to reconnect with people, understand how the pandemic was affecting them, how were they reacting and adapting to this change, and frankly asking for help, asking to understand, is there anything that we could do together. Forming new partnerships and new strategic alliances was perhaps the focus of my work in the first 3-4 months of the pandemic. So for us, this has resulted in an acquisition opportunity where I recently sold my company to a renowned Canadian engineering firm who was looking to expand its capability to include advisory services beyond engineering. So it came out of those conversations that I had in the early months of the pandemic. And so Flow Partners is now part of a larger company. This is very, very recent. And our base of operation in Chile is now BBA's first international office outside of Canada. So we're very proud of that, providing that opportunity for this company and being now part of a bigger firm. So, the pandemic definitely can have devastating effects. It's really about how you take the opportunity, or spin that into an opportunity and find new ways to rise above the challenge. So for women entrepreneurs that are exporting or thinking about it, don't see the current pandemic as really something that can't be overcome. It actually can be an incredible source of inspiration and ingenuity and innovation to do things differently.
Thanks, Laura. And it's a really inspiring story, I think. So taking a company, using your expertise and skills, scaling it up, and then through the course of the pandemic, making that sale. So congratulations. It's really, really good to hear. Carolina, over to you on the pandemic and advice for other women entrepreneurs.
Okay, well, the pandemic, we know that has been great struggle for some markets more than other ones. For food has been a great opportunity. I don't know, everyone in Chile is really quarantined, and so they eat more. So everyone wants to have snacks and better options of some fun thing. Is the only thing that still remains semi-normal. So in that, I have to see this question in two ways. One, as an insight in my company. In my company, I had an amazing experience. We had the chance to connect, to rewire the whole company as a family. We get to know better who works with us. We get to understand the situation that everyone lives and had lived through this 1.5 years. So it was really a great opportunity to expand our relationship between all us as a family. So I cannot skip that point, because it has made a really a bond, a really important bond inside the company that has been so productive in so many ways, as a person, as as a leadership of this ship, and then to get to understand the problems that you need to solve, the things that you didn't knew about your people, and you get connected because of all this strange situation that we had lived. Then we have like external thing. We had commercially talking, we had a great expansion. The numbers are amazing. It has been a great opportunity for us in the local market. The international market has been low. As Laura, he talked this inability to be able to travel and to connect more like physically with the person is so different. So some markets were really complicated. Some of them we totally freeze them for a while. But it was good because we discovered sometimes that the importers that we have in some regions were much more closer than we thought. So it was good for that. Other thing important, I think crises are really good sometimes because you have to develop the ability to adapt and to find the way to do the things that you need to do. We had one focus that we will keep going with everything. We will not how do you say sorry for this, get expulse people from your company. Sorry for my English. When we need to try to find the way to keep our family together, not change the positions of work in our company. So we try to be really creative, to be efficient. It was a great opportunity to get to know your competition, to get to know your abilities to work faster in some ways that your rivals were not able to do it, so you can expand in the market. So commercially, it was a great way to find new ways and new options to concrete new businesses. But it was also a time to stop and freeze a little bit the new products that was not good, because you didn't want to expand and create new lines of products while you cannot market them properly, or you cannot do anything to show the people in a massive way a new product on the retail. So that was a bad thing to afford. But it was a source of a new energy to create things new. I think we will never be able to be the same as before this crisis, in so many ways, internally in the company and externally, how we want to connect with our clients through different products. We understand so much now how creativity, how innovation, how to be able to solve problems of different nature in retail and in gourmet products. It's important, and I think that is an amazing opportunity of this crisis to restructure and be able to adjust, and to create and to, I don't know, expand in things that I feel now so with so much energy, that I think I will never would be the same if I would not experience a crisis of COVID.
Thanks, Carolina. Some really powerful messaging coming through, and building on what Laura was talking about as well with regards to COVID. Yes, we know the negatives associated with it, but as COVID as an opportunity. And you talked about creativity about the energy that came through, and that businesses needing to be agile and nimble in responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. So thank you very much for that. And over to you, Sarah.
Thank you. In our business, we've seen some amazing opportunities and some big challenges. So if we start with the opportunities, and especially around exporting to Canada, we saw that consumers really moved to wanting to know a whole lot more about their food. And we have a lot of products that could help people with provenance, traceability, and farmers to produce more traceable food with provenance that seemed to be more naturally produced, and there was a big demand for that. So we saw a lot of our products going out in areas that we hadn't seen before. And the other thing we saw was a lot of people working from home, and there's a lot of people that have small holdings in Canada especially, that all of a sudden they were wanting to do a whole lot more with their animals. So they were wanting all of a sudden to grow their own vegetables, grow a few of their own animals, either poultry, cattle, sheep, those types of things. So, but they wanted to look after them a whole lot better also. So we saw a big surge in fencing products and different animal health type products that we sell. But what we did see was our product mix changed quite a lot. So then we had some issues. Some of the problems that we had was some of the issues around supply and being able to get components, and actually to be able to change that supply mix very quickly, and also the shipping problems that were there, that we couldn't get products there in time. The other thing that we saw was these people needed to be educated quite differently. So we were selling a lot through resellers and distributors, but we had to get into e-commerce much faster than we had. We'd been on a digital journey, but we hadn't probably gotten there as quickly as we needed, and that really made that come out, that we had to focus really hard on that and become very agile in changing our business to how do we build tools to educate these people about what they should be doing, quite a different customer base to what we'd had before. And the e-commerce, how do we get those products in their hands, because it's quite remote in Canada, that they couldn't just go to somewhere to buy those products, but they really wanted them. So they were the opportunities we saw. We had to pivot quickly, we had to become more agile. We had been going on a transition to a future of farm strategy, and we realized that we had to move in that direction much more quickly with a lot more digital tools. And these younger people and people that are not traditional farmers who have off-farm jobs were looking for much more digital tools than the real traditional farming tools. So we'd started down that track, and really some of the things that we saw was we didn't travel so much, we didn't attend events and things. We really capitalized on the brand equity we had in the market, and our revenues stayed very good, and in lots of cases US and Canada actually increased, and our costs went down. So what did we do with that? We really doubled down on this future of farm strategy, made the acquisition of the virtual fencing company that we've bought recently, to give some more digital tools and learn more about this precision animal management and help with provenance. And we just found ways to do things that we didn't think was possible before. So some of the things that we learned in that area, we used to have staff that went on farm to help farmers. We learned how to do that remotely, things that we didn't think we could ever teach or build into our products that was able to be done remotely. So we've really transitioned our business also from gadgets and widgets that we actually need to have to go and install to things that are really farmer friendly. The customer experience is much better, they can install themselves, and now we're transitioning to that more digital way with a lot more software as well. So there have been some real supply constraint issues, but we have seen a lot of growth opportunities, and we've doubled down on those. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah, for rounding out that question around COVID response and opportunities that still exist in the market despite the constraints, and you talked about supply chains as one of those. We've had the chat has been heating up. There's a good deal of interest, lots of questions that have come through. I did want to let the participants know, those that have asked questions, that we're endeavouring to answer those questions if we can through the chat function. And if not, then one of the GTAG participants will get in touch via email as well, so that we can ensure that no question is unanswered. But while we have our panelists still here, I want to take advantage of them for a brief moment more. And one of the questions that's come through on the chat is if each panelist could let us know about a particular aha moment that you had as a female business leader, that sort of moment where your perspective, your view on commerce, your business changed from a moment in your career. I think aha translates into the various languages. Sarah, maybe we'll start with you and reverse the order.
Yeah, probably for me, it was really learning how important it was to immerse yourself in the market and really understand the market before just providing a product that works really well in New Zealand or in another market and sending it there. And just the power of customer insights and just getting out and listening to people, hearing what their problems are and understanding that their problems can be completely different, and it may just be one slight tweak you've got to do to your product or your marketing or your packaging that just changes it completely from what you've used in another market to that market. So understanding that all markets are not the same, even though, and really understanding that the US and Canadian market is not the same, even though they seem to us from a long way away quite close together, and the difference it can make by just doing some very small tweaks from listening to those customer insights.
Thanks, Sarah. And over to you, Carolina. What's your aha moment?
I think the most amazing situation that we live in the company was to continue to strive every day to create this TICA world, but that allows us to live a more conscious and connected life through the contribution of healthier, authentic, and creative foods. But that was not enough. And we decided to create a foundation that is called Cooperatica. It's like cooperative, but with TICA also. And this was an amazing thing in my head, because it really, I discovered that I love what I do. So, and it was so important. I heard so many people that hate their work. And this aha moment, it was incredible, because I understood that I love what I do. And the best part that I like to do is to create and innovate with small farmers and with people with less opportunities in my country. So we started with this foundation in, I don't know, from one day to another. And it has been so inspiring and so good. And we decided to give 1% of our sales of all our products to this foundation. And there's so many projects coming through every day that we can change so many lives. And that was definitely my aha moment during this crisis.
Thanks, Carolina. That's a good one. Over to you, Laura.
I think I want to work for TICA. She's so inspiring. You know, for me, I think there was a time when I started my entrepreneurship venture, and I had big dreams, but I really didn't know what I could actually do. And the big haha moment was when we competed with large consulting companies, very large, for a big contract. And we qualified in second. And we didn't get the contract because we were too small really to execute it. And I guess the client was looking for a larger company to fulfill. But we qualified with some of the top tier consulting companies in the world. And that gave me a big sense of, okay, right, we can do this. Now I've got to build the infrastructure behind me to be able to have access to those types of contracts. We have the capability and we can win this kind of business, this level of business.
Thanks. Another good one. So that's drawing to a close in terms of the time available for our panelists. I'd like to, on behalf of the GTAG participants, thank you very much for giving up your time to come and join us this evening, share your insights and experiences, which I am sure have been very valuable for those participants, and there are a number of people in this session. This is exactly the sort of experience sharing, awareness raising, and there'll be some capacity building as well that the GTAG envisages. So thank you very much again. And thank you also for allowing me to be part of this discussion. It's been a real honor and a privilege. So thank you. And now it falls to me to pass over to our next moderator, Georgina Wainwright-Kimderum. Georgina is a Senior Advisor on Gender at Global Affairs Canada. She's a very key Canadian official with us on this global trade and gender arrangement journey. And she's also a wonderful colleague. Over to you, Georgina.
Great. Thank you so much, Ed. A very generous introduction. And I have to say, I really enjoy working with all of my colleagues from New Zealand and Chile as well as we implement GTAG like we're doing today. I just have to begin by thanking our wonderful private sector panelists, Laura, Carolina, and Sarah, for sharing with us their such unique stories of breaking into GTAG markets and their overall entrepreneurship journey. Really fascinating. These stories are really inspiring, and I'm sure now that everyone listening into this event today want to learn more, so they can have the same success that our entrepreneurs have had. So I'm really happy to be moderating this short session today. And we will be, moving forward with this portion of the program, which really is an opportunity to hear from officials from Canada, Chile, and New Zealand to provide some closing remarks, which will also allow them to tell you a bit about the services that they can provide to help navigate the opportunities and challenges in our GTAG markets, Canada, Chile, and New Zealand. So I want to turn first to Mark Richardson, who is Canada's Senior Trade Commissioner based at our Canadian Embassy in Santiago, Chile. Mark, over to you, please.
Thank you, Georgina. Merci, Georgina. Bonsoir tout le monde. Buenas noches todos. Good morning for those joining in New Zealand. And thank you to our panel, our CEO panelists. That was fantastic to hear about your experiences, your inspiration, and your challenges, and how you've met all these. My remarks are focusing on what we are doing as the Trade Commissioner Service to help Canadian companies, and particularly SMEs, grow globally. We, as the Canadian Trade Commissioner Service, are an on-the-ground network of more than 10,000 people in over 160 locations globally, and we have 6 offices across Canada as well. We exist to help Canadian companies, our clients. These are companies with meaningful economic ties to Canada that are committed to internationalization. We help them to first prepare for international markets, ensuring they're ready to export and have a solid marketing plan, an export plan. Second, we help them to assess their potential in specific international markets by providing key insights, practical business advice, including on how to leverage our various free trade agreements around the world, and of course, information on business opportunities. Third, we help them to identify qualified business contacts. And as you heard from some of the panelists, oftentimes this is one of the biggest challenges when you're entering into a market. Who can you sell to? Who can you partner with? Who might be a good agent? What regulators and regulations do you need to be aware of? And so we help with that. And fourth, there's always challenges and problems when you're selling to markets internationally. And so we do help resolve complex business problems in foreign markets. And the best of all, for our Canadian clients, we do this for free. So, well, to be honest, not 100% free. You're paying for it with your taxes, so you should be using the service if you're not already. We also offer a variety of support and funding mechanisms. The largest of these is our Can Export SMEs, Small and Medium Enterprises Fund, which will provide funding for up to 75% of export marketing activities in up to 5 foreign markets at a time. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, Canadian SMEs can now also seek funding for e-commerce adaptation, online advertising, virtual trade show attendance, and new international market certifications. Typically, we accept applications for this program online year-round. However, unfortunately, due to the large demand and the program's popularity, we've had to put new applications on hold until the fall or the Chilean spring and New Zealand spring. Another fund, the Canadian International Innovation Program, supports research and development between Canadian SMEs and foreign partners in countries with which Canada has a science, technology, and innovation agreement. On a similar vein, we have a program called the Canadian Technology Accelerators Program, which is designed to help SMEs in the life sciences, clean tech, and ICT, information communications technology sectors scale up internationally. Currently, because of the pandemic, it's being delivered virtually, and the services that it provides include advice from industry-leading mentors and introduction to strategic partners and potential clients and investors. Of course, one of the Government of Canada's key priorities, which is shared by Chile and New Zealand, is to diversify our exporter base and to ensure it's more inclusive. To do this, we offer a variety of services to export-ready businesses owned by women, Indigenous peoples, visible minorities, LGBTQ2, and youth. These services include group-specific trade missions and events to help participants better access the right interlocutors, to find the right partners, to find the right clients, to find the right agents, and a network of dedicated champions for inclusive trade groups in our offices across Canada to help these clients better leverage Canada's trade ecosystem and all of the various programs and supports that exist across all levels of government, not just the federal government, the national government, but also provincial and at times even municipal. So if you have any questions about our services and programs, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And if you're not already taking advantage of them, I hope you will be soon. And remember, you're paying for them already with your taxes. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Mark. You're so right. It's great to hear about them. It's a good refresher for me as well. So thank you very much. So now we're going to be turning for the next set of comments to Maria Jose Alvarez. She's the advisor in the Department of Gender and Indigenous Peoples at ProChile in Santiago, Chile. Maria Jose, please, over to you.
Gracias, Georgina. Tenía el micrófono apagado. Muchas gracias, buenos días, buenas tardes a quienes les corresponda. Quiero agradecer al panel anterior. Sara, Carolina y Laura fueron un ejemplo del trabajo que se puede realizar, de los apoyos existentes y de las barreras y de los aha moments que nombraban, y son grandes motivadoras para quienes nos están escuchando. Comentarles desde ProChile. ProChile es la agencia de promoción de exportaciones La crisis del COVID-19 ha impactado en todos los segmentos productivos y exportadores del país, y muy especialmente a la mujer, y se hicieron más evidentes las desigualdades de género que han impactado a las mujeres en sus diferentes dimensiones, en el ámbito laboral, en el ámbito comercial, en el empleo tampoco ha sido la excepción, reflejándose la precariedad laboral y la incertidumbre económica frente a la crisis. En este contexto es que ProChile se planteó la inclusión de la mujer en el comercio internacional como uno de sus ejes estratégicos. Durante el último año hemos reforzado las actividades de capacitación acerca de los mercados internacionales y también de la promoción de nuestros bienes y servicios. Queremos incorporar activamente a estas empresas lideradas por mujeres al comercio global, mejorar los indicadores de equidad de género y disminuir las brechas empresariales. Este programa Mujer Exporta ha sido diseñado de manera integral, teniendo presente que no solo la concreción de negocios es importante, sino que también todo el camino que esto involucra. Así como lo mencionaba Carolina, Laura y Sara, los procesos de aprendizaje, la generación de redes, son aspectos claves para poder dar sostenibilidad a los negocios en un largo plazo y en el transcurso del tiempo. En este sentido es que este acuerdo global que nos convoca hoy día sobre comercio y género, que firmaron Canadá, Chile y Nueva Zelanda en agosto del 2020, el que busque promover este enfoque inclusivo del comercio y eliminar las barreras existentes, es un aliado fundamental en este camino que tenemos desde ProChile. El espíritu de este acuerdo define actividades de cooperación y nosotros lo entendemos como tal y estamos muy contentos de haber estado en este camino de colaboración junto con organismos públicos en nuestro país, fuera de él, y privados que nos ayuden a lograr de mejor manera nuestro objetivo. Tenemos un camino sumamente importante por recorrer desde Chile. Para que tengan una idea, durante el año 2020 fueron solo 43 empresas lideradas por mujeres las que realizaron envíos hacia Canadá y Nueva Zelanda, siendo el mayor porcentaje de ellas de alimentos. Por el programa Mujer Exporta netamente tal, quiero aprovechar esta ocasión de invitar a todas las empresarias chilenas que están conectadas a acercarse a nosotros. Por el chat les pude mandar mi correo. Mi correo es mjalvarez@prochile.gov.cl. Las quiero invitar a acercarse a las oficinas de ProChile regionales que tenemos a lo largo de todo el país, y a las empresarias chilenas que estén afuera o potenciales clientes de empresas chilenas, acercarse a nuestras oficinas comerciales, que tenemos más de 55 oficinas alrededor del mundo. Respecto al programa y centrándonos propiamente tal en él, nuestro gran foco de trabajo son 4 ejes. Por un lado, el levantamiento y la segmentación de empresas. Hoy día el levantamiento lo estamos haciendo a través de nuestras oficinas comerciales o a través de estas mismas instancias que nos dan a nosotros la oportunidad de llegar a esas empresas que hoy no nos conocen y que, tal como decía Mark anteriormente, nosotros trabajamos para ustedes. No es un favor, nosotros necesitamos de ustedes para cumplir con nuestro objetivo. Nosotros estamos al servicio de ustedes, aprovéchennos. Entonces, estamos focalizándonos, como les decía, en el levantamiento y segmentación de empresas. Queremos llegar a cada día a más empresas que estén interesadas en internacionalizar sus productos y servicios. Estamos también muy focalizados en la formación de las mismas. Como les mencionaba anteriormente, no solo la concreción de negocios es importante, todo el proceso previo de aprendizaje, de capacitación, de coaching, de entender cuáles son las claves de los mercados de destino, los podemos ayudar. Acérquense a nosotros. Como tercer punto, la internacionalización, que es el foco de nuestro negocio. Ahí, de la mano de nuestras oficinas comerciales, podemos ayudarlo a llegar a esos mercados que les interesa. Y como muchos clientes y muchos beneficiarios nos comentan, no es lo mismo llegar solo que llegar con el respaldo de tu país. Y ahí estamos nosotros como jugadores claves. Y por último, el cuarto eje, la vinculación y el posicionamiento. Es interesante y es importante para cada una de las empresas, como mencionaba Carolina en su intervención, el dar credibilidad a esos clientes, el que sepan y que lleguen en la forma que ustedes como empresarios quieren llegar a esos mercados, con los mensajes indicados y entendiendo también cuál es la clave y cuál es la forma óptima de comunicarse en el mercado de destino. Les quiero comentar que el 2020 ProChile trabajó con más de 1000 empresas lideradas por mujeres, lo que significó un pequeño 2% más de trabajo con empresas respecto al año anterior. De esas empresas, 340 correspondieron a empresas que enviaron sus productos y servicios al exterior. Como ven, tenemos un camino inmenso por recorrer y queremos hacerlo y estamos poniendo toda nuestra energía y compromiso para ello. Seguiremos trabajando con y para la inclusión. El programa Mujer Exporta también está inserto hoy en el Departamento de Género y Pueblos Originarios y son hoy por hoy focos de nuestra institución. La pandemia, el COVID-19 nos reseteó a todos, como sociedades, como seres humanos, y también cambió la forma de relacionarnos comercialmente. Las prioridades de cada uno de nosotros son otras, por lo que confiamos en que este comercio sea efectivamente cada día más inclusivo y sostenible, y que eso también está en el imaginario de los consumidores en cada uno de los mercados de destino. Así que invitarlas nuevamente, empresarias, a contactarnos. Nuestro sitio web, prochile.gov.cl, ahí tenemos un apartado especial de Mujer Exporta y de Pueblos Originarios, donde podrán encontrar las claves de ambos programas para poder seguir trabajando y apoyarlos de la mejor manera. Muchísimas gracias, Georgina.
Great. Thank you so much, Maria, Jose, as well. A very interesting presentation you made. Thank you. So I want to turn now to our last speaker in this segment today. I want to turn now to Sarah Reyes, who is New Zealand's Trade Commissioner based at the New Zealand Embassy in Santiago, Chile. Sarah, over to you, please.
Thank you, Georgina. Ina mana, ina reo, ina hauefa, tena koto, tena koto, tena koto katoa. Buenas tardes, bonsoir, and morena. Hello to you all, and thank you for joining us. I hope you've all enjoyed today's session as much as I have. Thank you again to our host Chile for organizing such an important event and discussion forum that highlights the significance of the global trade and gender arrangement and emphasizes the importance of unlocking opportunities for women entrepreneurs. It has been truly enriching to hear from all the speakers and panelists today. We have heard from 3 extraordinary women who have shared their experiences with us. The insights we gained from Laura, Carolina, and Sarah serve as an inspiration to other businesswomen and women entrepreneurs that are exporting or planning to export. I congratulate you all on your success and leadership. We also heard from Ambassador Linda Tapuni about the various initiatives and commitments that New Zealand government has made in many positive work streams at a national, regional, and global level on a trade for all agenda. New Zealand is committed to a new way of undertaking trade to ensure it works for everyone, including women. At New Zealand Trade and Enterprise, or NZTE, we also see ourselves as having a key role to play on delivering on the government's vision of productive, inclusive, and sustainable New Zealand. At New Zealand's Economic Development and as New Zealand Economic Development and Trade Promotion Agency, we are charged with helping New Zealand businesses to grow internationally. As an organisation, we are fully committed to gender balance across all levels and across all of our offices. While we have made huge strides, we know that there are still advancements to be made, which is why developing women for leadership is a key pillar in our diversity and inclusion strategy. This inclusive approach also extends beyond our organisation and applies to the work we do with New Zealand exporters and businesses. We know that exporting companies can achieve greater profitability, productivity and innovation, which also means they can generate more employment, pay higher wages and hire more diverse employees relative to other sectors. Nonetheless, women are less likely to be employed and so are also less likely to be able to take advantage of the benefits that accrue to businesses with international connections. We recognise that this needs to change, and so NZTE is devoted to leading a shift amongst the broader business community and has an ever-growing focus on inclusive trade issues. We are committed to continue working towards being champions of change by encouraging the business sector and exporters to incorporate into internal policies gender equality principles. We are working on several initiatives to better support women in export trade. For example, NZTE is the sponsor of the New Zealand chapter of SheEO. We are currently also working alongside the Ministry for Women and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade to design a project focused on women in export. The details of this project are still being designed. However, research is currently underway to build an understanding of women in the export sector in a New Zealand context by addressing the current barriers and challenges wahine Māori and women-led businesses in New Zealand face, both when breaking into the export market and expanding further. We want to understand how these specific challenges might be overcome to support women doing business internationally to expand and grow. This work will provide actionable insights and will underpin future work streams aimed at advancing women in trade. Each one of these initiatives gets us closer to achieving inclusive economic growth and our ambition of changing the way leadership is defined and talked about so we can build better New Zealand organisations. And so, as I wrap up, I can leave you with the key reflection and takeaway from today's event. It is, I encourage everyone here to continue playing their part and make the most of the opportunities to drive women's economic empowerment and equality. We can all make a difference and contribution to inclusive economic growth and towards inspiring women to achieve their ambitions and to facilitate women's access to international trade opportunities. In New Zealand's Indigenous language, Te Reo Māori, we say, he waka I he noa, we're all in this together. Kia ora, merci, gracias, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. It's a great way to leave us with that inspiring message. And you're right, we've learned that more this year than ever, right? We're all in this together, and this is very appropriate for this as well. Thank you very much, and thank you for all of our speakers in this segment of the program today. So I just now want to turn it over for some final closing remarks to Marcela Ortero, the main moderator for our event here today, and who we also work very closely with, along with Ed, on this ITAG work. Marcela, please, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgina, and thank you all. With this, we are coming to the end of today's activity. I would like to especially thank all our panelists, our authorities, our CEOs that share with us so inspiring and powerful messages, and our public officers that share with us all these programs that are set in place in Canada, New Zealand, and Chile for women entrepreneurs. We really hope that this has been a very insightful session for all of you. We are going to post the recording of this session after we finish today in our websites, if you want to rewatch it or share it. And with this, we come to an end. Good evening, good day in New Zealand, and see you next time. Thank you. Adiós, gracias, buenas tardes.